Hey business friends, I'm here to talk to you today about creative workspaces. And what do I mean by that? This is something I had to learn. Maybe you haven't thought of this, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. I like to use one of my 5 businesses as an example of how I learned this and why it's important, and knowing a little bit about myself as well to help you with your creative workspace. So today I'm going to use the IT consulting business. Started in 2002. I give you a little bit of background on that. My boss and I didn't see eye to eye. I was bringing 85% of the sales. I let him know that. He just bought a big house. I said I should get one too, and we had a disconnect. So we connected back later, years later, so everything's fine there. But at the time, I was unemployed and just getting married 3 weeks later, and my wife just lost her job. Being at Sears, they did a massive download of people outsourcing, outsizing, whatever, but she was gone. So we're getting married in 3 weeks. She was a widow, so we have a 5-year-old at the time as well. So back to the creative workspaces. So my first workspace that I wanted to start a new business with a new family was right out of my home. And we actually started a workspace. We rented a place in a realty building, a little office, myself and my business partner for about 6 months, and realized our clients never come there. So it was a small little office, actually probably smaller than my office I'm in right now, for about 3 of us, and we quickly made the decision that we shouldn't be there. And it was a little bit cramped, and the positive to that environment was you knew you were going to work. You actually were driving to a destination. And it was about a half-hour drive for me to get there, maybe even more. And so now I'm working from home. And the home we started with, I actually had a house. I was renting that to make money to live in a little coach house. But it was on 40 acres. In a really nice environment on a farm. So, such a nice farm that it was a dairy farm. So it was very peaceful. We'd literally have deers come out in the morning and sit on the front lawn and things like that. So it was a peaceful environment, but I wasn't peace in here. And I was actually working out of the bedroom. So the same place I slept is where I worked. And I looked out this window of this nice piece of property, and I just made calls and made calls and made calls for IT support. And occasionally my wife would say, come on, I'm taking you to the forest and we're going to take a walk to try to decompress me. So I talk about your environment and decompression and creativity because without kind of going through this journey, it's very clear now how it works, but it wasn't clear then. So I was really stressed, and when I would go on these walks with her, I would still be thinking about business and when can I get back to make calls and try to keep going from there. So that was the scenario. That said, we then finally moved to a house. When I moved to a house, I had a little desk that I had from high school that I would work out of. And I thought that, for my level mentally, maybe, I'm saving money. I kind of thought of ways that was a good idea. But I was being very cheap, quite honestly, about it. And I went on a vacation. Actually, it was to video some cars. And when I came back, it was about a week later. My wife had done what I call a room makeover, just like you see these house makeover shows and things like that. So she did a room makeover. So when I opened the door to my new office, I had this beautiful desk, this beautiful carpet, and these great colors on the wall. Matter of fact, this is the same color that I had in the last one. It's some Ralph Lauren color. It's like suede. Makes you feel very positive and rich and successful. And I didn't know anything about that either, or Ralph Lauren paint or anything like that. I just knew that I wanted to make sales calls and get some business. I say all that to say that when I first walked into that room, sadly, the first thought that went through my head is, how much does this cost? Like I couldn't afford it. And knowing now what I'm sharing with you, is that 2 days later after I sat in that same office, I said, you know what? I have to pull up my big boy pants and I need to sell like I'm a sales guy who can sit behind this desk. This is a pretty professional desk and I got to play the part. And that mindset changed everything. It started to make me think differently. It started to make me think progressively. It started to make me think of profit. It started to make me feel like I'm worthy of this desk. And you are worthy. We're all worthy. We just need to come to the realization that we are at that point. So when we moved into the house that we're in now, it was a different house and a different stretch, but now I was very connected to my work environment. I'm fortunate that I can pretty much work on my own and work pretty hard. I like to get up early. I like to sometimes come back and work late. And I have the discipline, probably through my martial art business, to be able to work independently. Now, if you're not that person and you need to go to an office to kind of get away from the distractions at home, that's a good environment for you. So remember, this is about environment and putting yourself in the right environment. And if you put yourself in the right environment, you can get the chance to kind of be successful there. So I encourage you to find the right environment. Maybe you need mental peace. Maybe you need quietness. If you're an accountant, you can't have people talking to you and screaming if you're trying to go, hey, 5, 6, 7, 12, and they're yelling back at you. That's not going to work. So understand that you can create your own environment and don't be afraid of it. Sometimes I was actually kind of afraid of my environment, thinking, you know, I might not be worthy of this desk and this chair and everything else that comes with it. But once you get comfortable with yourself, and if I use the martial arts as an example, you know, first you got to be determined in business, right? I was determined, but I wasn't successful. The next step on top of that. And that was causing me to have a bad work environment. Then once I started to get successful, I thought, you know what? I'm confident enough to be sitting at this desk in my office. And it's kind of fun because even my kids sometimes, they'll say, hey, sit in Dad's chair and tell me what you're thinking. And I'll go sit in one of the chairs across from my office. So I let them feel that they're in the big chair. And believe it or not, they feel more empowered. So that's really what this video is about, is empowering you in your environment, making you feel comfortable and get in a comfortable spot so that you can be creative. Sometimes that's a library. Sometimes that's a forest. Sometimes it might be your car. Sometimes I make calls in the morning and the whole family and the whole house is sleeping. I go in the car and I make a call there because I can feel more peaceful there. So your environment does make a difference. Put yourself in an environment that you're going to be successful. Put yourself in a mental headspace that you can make and be confident about your product. If you're not confident about your product, if you don't feel it's your God-given talent, probably need to change your product. That's a different video altogether. Right now we're just talking about workspace. But put yourself in a good workspace so you get a good headspace so that you can be successful. I hope this helps you. By the way, speaking of helpful, if you're not in the right environment, and maybe you're forced to be in the right environment, meaning, hey, I work at this company, Lou, I can't do anything about my environment, I'm stuck here. If that's the case, and to get in the right headspace, I do some communication consulting. You can feel free to look into the description of this video and contact me. If I can help your company communicate better, maybe that takes some of the tension off too. But this one is about your environment. So I hope this helped you. Thanks, guys.